Okay, good. Okay, morning. So today is the celebration of Govardhan Puja. So I thought it would be appropriate to do a whole tour of Govardhan today. So this is a slideshow that I put together. Actually, so first we'll chant Jai Radha Madhava. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janab Malaba Giri Baradhare Gopi Janab Malaba Giri Baradhare Yasudanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasudanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Munatera Vanachare Yamuna Tera Vanachare Jayo Radhu Madhura Kunya Bihare Jayo Radhu Madhura Kunya Bihare Gopi Jana Pallava Iri Bharadhavore Gopi Jana Pallava Iri Bharadhavore Yasudanandana Praja Jana Ranjana Yasudanandana Praja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tera Vanachari Yamuna Tera Vanachari Jayo Radhu Madhura Kunya Bihare Jayo Radhu Madhura Kunya Bihare Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Paravatacharya also Teta Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anandakoti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Saya Mukunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan ki jai. Mathuram ki jai. Jagannatha Swami ki jai. Yamunai ki jai. Shrimati Lasi Devi ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschatyateja Tarni. So, Omaganath Vidanda Shah Gadanjana Shlakaya Chakshur Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So this is actually a very special day for me because usually, actually before COVID, BC, I was at Govardhan and we would worship Govardhan Hill with everything, with an abhishek, and we'd offer all this food. Sometimes we had our friends from different places in India come, and we would offer, let's say, hundreds of different preparations on the side of the hill and do a whole ceremony. And so today we're feeling great separation from Govardhan, so I thought it'd be appropriate, and every day when I'm at Govardhan I would do a parikrama around Govardhan. Actually, the way I did the parikrama was very interesting. I would do a half parikrama every day. So that when I took the devotees around, we could meditate on the different spots. Now, normally when people go on Govardhan parikrama, they just try to do the whole thing in one day. And I find that you really are not that much connected with Govardhan, because Govardhan is Krishna, and he's also Haridas Varya. You know, he's the best servant of Krishna. So how to reconcile those two things? Well, Balaram is also Haridas Varya. You know, Balaram is also serving Krishna by giving him his seat, by giving him his Brahman thread, by the temple. So he's serving Krishna in so many different ways. So Krishna expands himself to serve himself. Of course, Lord Chaitanya. Well, Lord Chaitanya is not expansion. Lord Chaitanya is Shri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nayana. He's Krishna directly, as in the mood of Radharani as the best servant. So, you know, so we see Lord Chaitanya doing that. So some devotees worship Govardhan as a servant of Krishna, and some devotees worship Govardhan as Krishna himself. So both things are true. You know, we're not going to argue with that particular point, although sometimes people argue it. They always argue. People argue about anything without getting into the bhav of it. I mean, for example, you know, everybody knows I have Govardhan Chilas, and one is Krishna and the other I consider manifestation of Srimati Radharani. So many times people get into arguments. How can you say this? How can you do this? But, you know, there's an emotion. You know, Krishna consciousness basically means offering one's heart to Krishna. You know, it's an emotional exchange. Yes, we have the philosophy, we should understand the Siddhanta, fine. But there's, the bhav is actually the important thing that's going to connect us to Krishna. I mean, we can do everything correctly. Vishvaksena katasu yat, no pariyad yadivratim shama evi kevalam. But if we don't develop this taste, Spanish is called sabor. If we don't develop a taste for hearing and chanting about Krishna, then, well, and simultaneously a distaste for hearing and chanting about mundane things, then Shrama Eva Hi Kevalam. We're sort of spinning our wheels. So that's really the essence. People get into all these philosophical fine points like, can people of a gender be a guru? People of only one gender? All these philosophical fine points, but the whole point is to connect with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and enter into his pastimes. So anyway, without further ado, because we have a lot of slides here, so we're going to go rather fast. We're going to talk about... What? No, there's a schedule. So this is a picture. Can everyone see the picture? Yeah. So that's a picture I had drawn by one of my disciples, Madhavapriya, that depicts all the various pastimes around Govardhan. It's done to scale. The pastimes are not to scale, obviously, but the hill in the middle is to scale. And as we can see, Govardhan is very long. It's described by the Acharyas. Govardhan is shaped... Someone open up the door again. Oh, they closed it. So it's shaped like a peacock. Yeah, they closed the door. I can hear it, because then when they open it, the fan goes on the top there. So, the head of the peacock consists of the Radhakund, Shaimakund area, and the tail of the peacock is the tail of the peacock where all the various incarnations of the Lord reside. And so we know about a lot of these pastimes, of course, from the Srimad Bhagavatam, but there's also stories about a history when Brajanabha, who is Krishna's great-grandson, came to Braj with some of the remaining Dwarkavasis, and he had a program, chanting and dancing, and during this program, Krishna and his associates and Shri Krishna and Radharani appeared, and during the kirtan, and then after the kirtan they disappeared. This is similar to Narottama Das's kirtan at Keturi, when Narottama Das had this kirtan, and Lord Chaitanya and his associates appeared, and then after the kirtan they disappeared. So Brajanabha also discovered the different places of Krishna's pastimes and established many of the deities, the original deities, in Braj and also at Govardhan. So he's a very, very important person. Brajanabha was Krishna's great-grandson. And of course, this is Govardhan. We're going to start the pilgrimage in a second. And Krishna can manifest himself in many different ways, as we described on Sunday. He manifests himself in all the different species of life, incarnations, avatars, and all the species of life. And he can manifest himself as a transcendental stone. Uh-oh. He doesn't have COVID, does he? I guess kids cough. So we're talking right now about the center of Govardhan, which is in the city of Govardhan. And there's the temple called Mukharavinda temple. Mukharavinda is the mouth of Govardhan. And that's situated on the Manasa Ganga. And the Manasa Ganga is considered, we'll describe that in a second. So the Mukharavinda temple is considered by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur to be the mouth of Govardhan. So it's considered to be the mouth of Govardhan, and all day long they're feeding the mouth of Govardhan by offering different sweets and different delectables to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And here we see the Manasa Ganga, which the Mukharavinda temple is situated on. More views of the Manasa Ganga, and then an aerial view of the Manasa Ganga. We're going to go rather fast. And This is the Mukaravinda temple. So let's tell the story about the Manasa Ganga. Manasa Ganga means the Ganga that was created from Krishna's mind. And so the story is as follows. Krishna killed a demon that was in the shape of a calf. And that demon was called Vatsasura. That means the demon calf. And when Krishna killed the demon, the coward boys said to Krishna, you have to go immediately to purify yourself because you killed a calf, which is a baby cow. And so you have to go to the Ganges. And Krishna, of course, did not want to leave Braj, and he created the Ganges from his mind. And later on, he manifested or proved that the Ganges was there when Nanda Maharaj wanted to go to the Ganges, the other Ganges, of course. I mean, it's the same Ganges. Nanda Maharaj wanted to go to the Ganges, and Krishna had a Ganga Devi appear from the Manasa Ganga to prove that actually this was the real Ganges. Other pastimes occur there, such as the famous boat pastime. And in that boat pastime, Krishna dressed himself up as a very, very old boatman, a decrepit boatman. Doesn't look too decrepit here. But anyway, the gopis wanted to cross the Manasa Ganga to get to Govinda Kund, and they had many milk products because there was forced sacrifice. And so they had no other way to cross other than the boat, because the Manasa Ganga is considered to be the largest body of water, and it was in their way. So they couldn't find a boatman. Finally, they found this really old boatman who was actually Krishna in disguise, and they asked the boatman to row them across. When they started, the boatman said, I don't have any energy. I need to eat some milk products. And so they gave him some of the milk products to eat, which they were carrying. And what happened at that point, he got very tired, or acted like he was very tired. And he said, I'm too tired to row this boat anymore, so I need a massage. And the gopis said to him, yeah, we'll grab your body and throw you in the water. That's the type of massage we're going to give you. And so then he started rowing. They said, row, row. And so he started rowing. And there was they were taking on water. There was sort of a storm. And he said, you got to throw everything overboard. And you have to throw your milk products first overboard. And then finally he said, you have to throw your clothes overboard. And they said, we're going to throw you overboard. And so they were getting very scared, and Srimati Radharani was on the boat, and then they saw that there was a flute hidden under Krishna's belt, and Srimati Radharani grabbed Krishna, and it was revealed this was a pastime that Krishna had enacted to enjoy his conjugal leela with the gopis. It's a very, very interesting pastime that occurred in the Manasa Ganga. In the center of the Manasa Ganga area, there's the Bhajan Kutir of Sanatana Goswami. And originally, when Sanatana Goswami was staying there, he was harassed by a lot of mosquitoes. So he got ready to leave. He thought, this is not going to work, because how can I do any work if the mosquitoes keep biting me? And so Lord Shiva, who is also situated there as the protector of this area, Chakaleshwara Mahadev, he said to Sanatana Goswami, we're going to keep the mosquitoes from biting you, or get rid of the mosquitoes, and that's what happened. And Lord Shiva is situated to protect, he's called the Dikpala, who protects the different aspects of the holy dhams. So here he's known as Chakaleshwara Mahadev, and of course in Radhakund, actually there's 4 manifestations of Lord Shiva, but the primary one is called Kundeshwara Mahadev. Then there's a beautiful temple to Manasi Devi, who is the presiding goddess of the Manasa Ganga, and she's considered to be an expansion of Yogamaya, or an appearance of Yogamaya. So there is her deity. Very wonderful. I mean, you really have to absorb the spiritual atmosphere when you're there. It's hard to actually convey how one would feel when they're at Govardhan, but we're trying our best through these slides. And then there's the temple called the Haridev Temple. This is an aerial view of the Haridev Temple. And the Haridev Temple is an interesting temple because that temple that Goswamis of Vrindavan stated, we have to go to first before going around Govardhan to get permission from Haridev, who is the presiding personality of Govardhan. And Haridev, we're entering the temple right now. There we see him. Haridev is a deity that manifested himself when the gopis were looking for Krishna. They were calling out, Haridev, Haridev, Haridev. And then Krishna manifested himself as this deity of Haridev, holding up Govardhan Hill, replica of Govardhan Hill with his left hand, and the flute with his right hand. So that was Brahmakund. So there's a temple, at least when I was first there, the devotees told me this is the site of the original Dangati temple. Of course, there's a newer Dangati temple that's right on. Dangati means the tax path, which goes through the center of Govardhan city. And we'll tell that story in a second about the tax pastime, or one of the tax pastimes. So as we leave the city of Govardhan, where the Manasaganga is situated, we come and we see Govardhan Hill and the footprints of Krishna. Sometimes some people say it's the footprints of Radharani here. There's different stories about this. And we pay obeisances to Krishna or Radharani's footprints. This is usually where we do a full dandavat and put our head at the feet of Govardhan. The next temple is actually a Vishnu temple as you go around. And the next is ISKCON's palace, which was reconstructed under the guidance of Srila Tamal Krishna Maharaj, who wanted a place for sadhus to reside at Govardhan and do serious bhajan. Very, very important place. I stayed there in the beginning before I had a place at Govardhan, and many devotees, sannyasis and leaders of our movement, stay there, and there's wonderful facility. We have Prabhupada's, the celebration of Prabhupada's disappearance there at this particular location. And there's Krishna Balaram, Govardhan Shilas there, Gaurnitai, deities, and the Pushpa Samadhi of Srila Tamal Krishna Maharaj. Pushpa Samadhi means not where the body is or the ashes are, but the flowers that came from the first Samadhi are taken, and it's considered to be non-different from the first Samadhi. So there I am with some of the disciples of Tamal Krishna Maharaj. As I said, traditionally we've done so many tours around Govardhan. And here's some of the wonderful devotees. This was done in a very cold time. It might have been January when we did this tour. Okay, so then we get to Dhanadvartana Kund. And this Kund is sort of like a replica that indicates the place where this tax pastime took place. So the tax pastime is as follows. Once upon a time, the gopis were again bringing milk products to Govinda Kund for a sacrifice, and Krishna and the coward boys, they stopped the gopis in their path and told them, you have to pay taxes. And there was a big argument ensued, and as you see in the pictures, Krishna actually got very romantic. He was charging the gopis a certain amount for their beautiful eyes. He said, for your eyes, he went through the whole, especially with Radharani, he went through the whole transcendental body of Radharani and was charging a different amount. I mean, really romantic. And the gopis got very upset, and there was a big argument, and that argument, they had brought in a mediator, I believe it was Purnamasi, and the mediator decided the next day the gopis would come back and pay the taxes. So the next day, instead of paying the taxes, millions of gopis came back and overpowered the coward boys, as you see here in the picture, and tied the cowherd boys and Krishna to trees, and of course didn't hit them seriously, but I guess threatened them. And Krishna was forced to bow down at Radharani's feet. Nice. So then there's this place called Chandra Sarovara, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Chandra Sarovara is where the moon shone for, I guess, a whole night of Brahma when the gopis and Krishna had a pastime, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu resided there for some time. That's a deity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu right by Chandra Sarovara. Right next to there is this temple called Chaturbhuj Temple. Chaturbhuj indicates, we'll talk about that in a second when I show the deities. Of course, there's a Narayana Sarovara right next to that, a Lakshmi well, and this is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's sitting place. So here's the Chaturbhuj Temple. You remember this, Apaka? So the Chaturbhuj means 4 arms. Krishna, of course, in Vrindavan manifests 2 arms, but one time he was hiding out from the gopis, and he appeared, the story, of course, there in the Shastras, he appeared with 4 arms, and the gopis understood this was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They offered their respects to Krishna, or to Lord Vishnu, and prayed to him, please tell us, show us where Krishna is. And so that's what happened. And then, but when Radharani came, he couldn't keep the extra 2 arms. They kept disappearing, and she was able to discover it was Krishna hiding. This is how we get there, through the pastures or fields. The next Kund was Gauri Kund. And in Gauri Kund, there's a whole story told by the Goswamis about this, that Krishna actually dressed up as the deity Gauri, who was Durga, so that he could trick Radharani, who was angry with him, into meeting with him again. And what happened is when Krishna did that, Radharani's so-called mother-in-law and sister-in-law, and also so-called husband, came upon them, and they thought that they had discovered Krishna with Radharani, but they saw Radharani, who became shocked by seeing them, offering dandavats to what they thought was the deity Gauri. And so when that happened, then Radharani fainted, of course. The deity Gauri, actually, who was actually Krishna, threatened Abhimanyu, said, you're going to die very soon because you have not trusted Radharani. And so basically Radharani came back to external consciousness then, and she prayed, please forgive my husband. And Gauri said, who was Krishna, yes, your husband could be forgiven just once, but if he ever distrusts you again, he's finished. And so the so-called husband and mother-in-law and sister-in-law of Radharani they walked away and left Radharani with Krishna. So that happened at Gauri Kund. What a nice story. Anakukshetra is where they offered all these different ingredients to Krishna during the Govardhan during the Govardhan Puja ceremony. And in the city of Anyor, there's beautiful deities, and these deities were installed by Brajanabha, the deities of Krishna and Balaram. Balaram's called Dauji, the big brother, and Krishna is the small brother. It's a very ancient temple, and there's the site of the original temple. It's not the original temple, but it's the site of the original temple that Madhavendra Puri worshipped Govardhan at. And we have some aerial shots of that we'll go through quickly. Next is this kund called Sankarshan Kund, and it's described by the devotees there that when Indra tried to kill all the residents of Vrindavan by flooding them, Lord Balaram, of course, Krishna lifted Govardhan Hill, Sudarshan Chakra was above Govardhan Hill, but Lord Balaram collected all the water that came from the rest of Braj in this particular kund, and it was called Sankarshan Kund. And it's actually decorated very nicely now by this Braj Foundation, which has actually erected all sorts of nice things around it. So next place is the Gopal Prakat Stali, where Madhavendra Puri discovered the deity Gopal, who's known as Nachi or Srinachi, and there's inside the temple the Shila. Supposedly, it's the Shila that you can make music on, although I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't start hitting Shilas. And here's Madhavendra Puri, the story of Madhavendra Puri, and he is just first of all he was not eating, and Krishna came and brought him some milk or condensed milk and sweet rice. And then he had that dream. He didn't know it was Krishna. He had a dream that night that Krishna appeared to him and said to him that actually I've been hidden in the bushes because we were afraid that the Muslims were going to attack. And so the next day, when he woke up, he took all the villagers with the choppers and discovered this deity. Gopal installed him on top of Govardhan Hill with an Anakut ceremony. This is Govinda Kund. And this Govinda Kund, many sacrifices were made. This Govinda Kund was formed from the bathing of Krishna when Indra was apologizing to Krishna for attempting to do genocide on the residents of Vrindavan. It says a aerial view of Govinda Kund, another view of Govinda Kund. Trying to go quickly. And here's the story, of course. There's the Anakut ceremony you see on the left-hand side. There's Indra trying to kill the residents of Vrindavan. There's Krishna Krishna saving the residents of Vrindavan. Indra apologizing, bathing Krishna, and eventually crowning Krishna as Govinda, he who pleases the cows and the senses. And the presiding deities of Govinda Kund are right next to Govinda Kund. These are the presiding Radha Krishna deities of Govinda Kund, and there's another Kund called Nipa Kund. It's not a Kund anymore, but it's a Kund, it used to be a Kund where the cowherd boys and Krishna would take the leaves from the trees and make cups out of them. So that's why it's called Nipa Kund. This is the place where Krishna stood when he was being bathed by Indra. Right now there's a whole boundary wall erected around that, a new construction, at least when I was there last time. Madhavendra Puri, this great devotee who discovered the deity, he sat at the on the banks of Govinda Kund, and this is his sitting place. This is his bathing place, where he took a bath in Govinda Kund. And there's a conditioned soul who's taking shelter of one of the desire trees. Next, as we proceed around Govardhan, there's the Doka Dauji temple. Doka Dauji temple means the shocked Dauji, because Dauji is Balaram. He happened to see Krishna's rasa dance taking place, and he was shocked, awed. And that's on the top of Govardhan Hill. Here's an aerial shot of that inside it. Of course, we don't climb on Govardhan Hill, but we had the people who do the puja who are allowed to climb on Govardhan Hill do some shots. So here's a depiction of Balaram getting shocked, and when he got shocked, he dropped his crown, and the crown made a mark on the rock, and this rock is called the Balaram Mukut Shila. That means the rock that has the imprint of Balaram's crown, Mukut. And as the devotees proceed around Govardhan, they sometimes make little houses out of the Shilas, and these houses out of the Shilas are supposed to indicate that they're building a house for themselves in the spiritual world. So some devotees, they try to build like a 10-story house. And what I usually tell them is when they do that, they're going to Vaikuntha instead of Goloka Vrindavan. In Vrindavan, everything is simple. So anyway, and so then there's peacocks on top of Govardhan Hill, and as we reach the tail, we're going around really quickly, all the incarnations of the Lord reside at the tail. And there's a beautiful temple of Lord Nrsingadev, which was one of our favorite temples. And this deity of Lord Nrsingadev was installed by Brajanava. It's one of the original deities. Here we are with our group coming down, and here is the deity. It's Ugra Nrsimha, and there's a Prahlad Maharaj there, little Prahlad Maharaj there. And the Pujari is so kind. Of course, this gentleman, his son has taken over since then. But the Pujari is so kind that he allowed me to do some puja and actually rub the deities. And anyway, he was very kind. And the devotees told me that this year when they went there, the Pujari asked where I was. Because I've given a lot, donations to the temple and different things that they needed. So next we get to we are at the tail of Radhakund. Not Radhakund, sorry, Govardhan. And there's Navalkund and Apsarakund there, which are considered to be at the tail, like replicas of the Radhakund and Shaimakund. And these two kunds, the story, at least that's told about these two kunds, that Radha and Krishna were looking at each other, and with such love that they melted into the water of these kunds. So there's a nice depiction of that, and then an aerial shot. And you see the air is a little polluted at that time. So Navalkund on the right, Apsarakund on the left. And then there's the kund again. And anyway, Krishna and the cowherd boys who would drink from these different kunds. And also during the summer, I used to go swimming in those kunds. And what's the deity called again? He's at the tail, and he's waiting for Krishna to come back. And he's... What? Punchari Lota Baba. Punchari Lota Baba. Krishna, he wanted to prepare some food for Krishna, and Krishna was going into Mathura, and Krishna said, just now coming back, which most people from India talk about just now coming. And he didn't come back, and Punchari Lota Baba is still waiting for Krishna to come back. And it's a beautiful deity of him.
Punchari is tail.
Tail, yeah. Punchari. Tail. And so here's the actual tail of Govardhan, the very spot of the tail of Govardhan, another shot of that, and another aerial shot of the tail. The people going around the tail and going in the other direction towards Radhakund. The path. And as I said before, all the incarnations are there at the tail of Govardhan. And here's it. The cave in which Radha and Krishna had many of their pastimes, also Raghava Pandit. There's many caves, of course, around Govardhan, but it's described that Raghava Pandit, one of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's close associates, would actually go into this cave and chant the holy names. I would sometimes go in there until I discovered the bats in there too. And then I didn't go in there anymore. Oh, you went in there? Yeah. Yeah, it was very small, actually. And so Radha and Krishna had their pastimes in the cave. Here's a picture of the inside. It's, of course, in disrepair. And there's a Nathji temple, Sri Nathji temple at the tail of Govardhan. And we've done different programs at this Nathji temple. Traditionally, this is where we do the marriages and different spiritual programs in the Nathji temple. And as we continue towards Radhakund, we see Airavata, who is Indra's elephant, has left his footprint on Govardhan. And here's where Indra stood when he was worshipping Govardhan. Is called the Indra Puja shrine. The Surabhi cow who bathed Krishna came down with Indra. It's described that she kept the celestial milk that she brought from the heavenly planets in the Surabhi Kund. So Surabhi cow, here's a view from an aerial view and a view of some of the relief sculptures around Surabhi Kund. Beautiful sculptures. And then next there's Rudan Kund. Rudan Kund was formed when Lord Shiva was feeling such ecstasy, watching the pastimes or remembering the pastimes of Krishna. It was formed from his tears. And then next to Rudan Kund is Hariju Kund, which is sometimes described as being formed from the tears of the gopis as they were feeling separation from Krishna. Remember that? And the cowherd boys would also play in this particular area. And there's Indra Kund, which is sometimes described as the tears formed from the tears of Indra, or sometimes described as where Krishna kept some of the heavenly heavenly Ganges water to bathe Krishna in. And as we enter the city of Jatipur, which means the city of the sannyasi, which I describe to people when they want to get a donation from me. I said, this is a city of sannyasi, and I'm a sannyasi, so you shouldn't ask for a donation. There's this, I say it jokingly, and they really appreciate that. There's this Dandavat Shila. Traditionally, if one offers Dandavats and circumambulates this Dandavat Shila, one becomes freed from the offenses one may have committed by going around Govardhan. Then, some distance away from Govardhan, there's this place called Gantoli. Gantoli means tying the knot. And in this particular location, it's described that Radha and Krishna had one of these marriages, hidden marriages, where the cloth from Radharani's, whatever she was wearing, whether it was sari or whatever, and with Krishna's dhoti was tied together. That's why it's called Gantoli. Right near Gantoli is this kund called Gulal Kund, and Gulal Kund is said to turn different colors during the holy season, even when colors are not thrown into Gulal Kund. Remember that, Champaka? Champaka used to go with us to all these different places, and by her mercy, I understand some of these things. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu resided on the banks of Gulal Kund. So there's a deity of Lord Chaitanya there. And here's a depiction of that particular pastime. Next is Vilachu Kund. Vilachu Kund is where Radharani was looking. She had lost one of her, was it earrings? Yes, she had lost one of her earrings, right? Ankle bells, sorry. Ankle bells. And Krishna was looking for it, and he came up with, I guess, hundreds of different ankle bells and gave her these ankle bells. And there's beautiful deities there, Radha Vilachu Bihari. And here's a depiction of that particular story. Next is Uddhava Kund. Remember her? That's Padma as a little girl.
Is she in that picture?
Oh, no, the next picture.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm looking at the coming picture, yeah. That's Uddhava Kund, and which Uddhava, who prayed to reside as blades of grass, resides. And Radha Uddhava Bihari, there's two sets of deities in this wonderful temple where one of our friends is in charge. And then there's an Orisan temple, Mahaprabhu Chaitanya temple, at the entrance of Radha Kund. So I guess that's all we have time for. All right. Too late. Too late.
Can you come to school and do the rest for the kids at school? We have a nice big screen.
I don't think I have time because I'm leaving tomorrow. But I'll come to the school, but not for the whole thing.
Finish it after that.
After we do Damodarashtika. How about that? Okay. Jai. Shishi Radhagalokananda ki jai. Probably at 7 or something. Jai.
Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Enam Kanvandam Aravindadalayataksham Varhavatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Kandar Ako Vikamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakalen Priya Priti Manti Pasyanti Panti Kayanti Jiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adipurusham
Tamaham Bhajami
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Namam Vishwaram Satchit Ananda Rupam Lasakundaram Gokule Rajamanam Namam Vishwaram Satchit Ananda Rupam Lasakundaram Gokule Rajamanam Yasoda Biyo Luka Navamagdam Padam Rishtam Achantara Jodruchagobya Mohunetra Yupam Rishantam Karam Dojachumena Satankanetram Shashakam Patre Veganka Kantara Tutagraivam Damodaram Bhaktivadam Iti Drikswale Labir Ananda Kunde Swagosham Nibhajantam Akyapayantam Hare Sita Keshu Bhakti Tattvam Una Prema Tastam Shatravriti Bande Varam Deva Moksham Na Mokshavadim Rara Lachanyam Vrindeham Bhavareshat Abhiha Iram Teva Purnata Upalabalam Sadame Manas Yavi Rastam Imandai Idam Temo Kambosham Ajanta Nirai Vitam Kuntalai Snigdar Bhaktaisya Gopya Muhusumidam Bimba Raktadadam Mehi Manasyavi Rastam Magalam Rakshalavai Devatam Mokta Ananta Vishnu Prasida Prabhu Dukha Jalabhi Magnam Kripat Sristi Vishnati Dinam Bhatanu Grahanishamam Ladyam Made Yakshi Dresha Ratma Jobhakta Muchavajyatva Vayamuchito Bhakti Vashakutoja Muchavajyatva Data Prema Bhakti Swa Kamne Priyagya Namokshe Grihome Sti Damodareha Namaste Studam Nespo Rajit Jidam Swadhyodharayadar Vishvashadamhe Namo Radhikaya Tva Diya Priyaya Namo Dandalilaya Divaya Tuyam Namam Vishwaram Satchit Anandalupam Lasatkunalam Gokule Rajamanam Param Lasatkunalam Gokule Rajamanam Yasodabeo Lukal Sarvamandalam Param Vishnam Achantarto Chitopya Ramamanam Param Vishnam Achantarto Chitopya Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radha Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radha Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe. Radhe, Jai Radhe, You Radhe, Jai Radhe. Lokinanda Radha, Lokinanda Radha, Nayo Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jaya Sri Radhe Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravatikacharya also Teta Sitashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Sai Makunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Ki Jai Mathuram Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Srimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachani Nivasesha Srinyavadi Paschata Deshatari. To the Supreme Controller who possesses an eternal form of blissful knowledge, whose glistening earrings swing to and fro, who manifested himself in Gokula, who stole the butter that the gopis kept hanging from the rafters of their storerooms, and who then quickly jumped up and ran in retreat in fear of Mother Yashoda, but was ultimately caught. To that Supreme Lord, Sri Damodar, I offer my humble obeisances. Upon seeing his mother's whipping stick, he cried and rubbed his eyes again and again with his 2 lotus hands. His eyes were fearful and his breathing quick, and his mother Yashoda bound his belly with ropes. He shivered in fright and his pearl necklace shook. To the Supreme Lord Sri Damodar, who is bound by his devotees' love, I offer my humble obeisances. Those super excellent pastimes of Lord Krishna's babyhood drowned the inhabitants of Gokula in pools of ecstasy. To the devotees who were attracted only to his majestic aspect of Narayana and Vaikuntha, the Lord herein reveals, I am conquered and overwhelmed by pure loving devotion. To the Supreme Lord Damodar, my obeisances hundreds and hundreds of times. O Lord, although you are able to give all kinds of benedictions, I do not pray to you for liberation, nor eternal life in Vaikuntha, nor any other boon. My only prayer is that your childhood pastimes may constantly appear in my mind. O Lord, I do not even want to know your feature of Paramatma. I simply wish that your childhood pastimes may ever be enacted in my heart. O Lord, the cheeks of your blackish lotus face, which is encircled by locks of curling hair, have become reddened like bimba fruit due to Mother Yashoda's kisses. What more can I describe than this? Millions of opulences are of no use to me, but may this vision constantly remain in my mind. O unlimited Vishnu, O Master, O Lord, be pleased upon me. I am drowning in an ocean of sorrow and am almost like a dead man. Please shower the rain of mercy upon me, uplift me and protect me with your nectarian vision. O Lord Damodar, in your form as a baby, Mother Yashoda bound you to a grinding stone with a rope for tying cows. You then freed the sons of Kuvera, Manigriva, and Nalakuvara, who were cursed to stand as trees, and you gave them the chance to become your devotees. Please bless me in the same way. I have no desire for liberation into your effulgence. O Lord, the entire universe was created by Lord Rama, who was born from your abdomen, which was bound with a rope by Mother Yashoda. To this rope I offer my humble obeisances. I offer my obeisances to your most beloved Srimati Radharani and to your unlimited pastimes. Lord Damodar ki jai, Shashtika ki jai. Nam Shreya Chandrika Vitaranam Vijavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamritasvadanam Vanam Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktish Tatrapita Niyamata Smanane Nakala Etadrasita Bhavkripa Bhagavan Mamapi Gurudaiva Midrasaniha Nanuraga Trinadapi Suvichena Taror Hiva Shishnuna Amanina Madidena Kirtaniya Sadhari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Va Jagadishikamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Shvare Bhavatag Bhaktir Haitaki Twaye Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddho Bayatava Pada Pankaja Sita Duli Sadrasam Bachintaya Ashradnaya Ya Kanichatam Bakutna Tava Namagrane Bhavishati Jugayitam Nimishena Krishya Pravishaitam Shunyaitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Vidahena Me Ashlishabha Padasnumam Adarshanam Marmatam Garotuva Yatadata Bhavadatu Lampato Atprananatus to Sevana Paraha. Victory to Sri Krishna Sankirtan,
which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of the conditioned life, repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime
benediction for humanity at large. It spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge.
It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar
for which we are always anxious.
Oh my Lord, congregational chanting in your holy name alone can render all
benedictions upon the living beings. And thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda.
In these
transcendental names, you invested all your transcendental energies.
There are not even
any hard and fast rules for chanting these holy names?
Oh my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy name. But I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant
the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street,
one should be more tolerant
than a tree, void of all sense of false prestige,
and should be ready to
offer all respects to others.
In such a
state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly.
Oh, Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name?
When will my voice choke up? When will the hairs of my body stand and the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation,
I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears
are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence.
I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even.
He handles me roughly by his embrace, makes me broken heart by not being present before me. He's completely free to do anything and everything, and will always remain my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Shikshashtaka ki jai. Okay, we'll quickly finish up this slideshow. So the next temple is called the Mahaprabhu Chaitanya Temple. There's a big, big deity of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When we first went there was a pujari who was like 120 years old, 116 years old, and he was taking care of the deities, even at that age. And this, of course, is at the entrance to the Radhakund area. So you see the Mahaprabhu temple there in the left, slightly lower left. And as we enter we're not going to do the whole Radhakund Parikrama, we're just going around Radhakund, we're doing the Govardhan Parikrama today.
You skipped everything between Jatipur and Udupur.
What?
You skipped everything between Jatipur and Udupur.
Everything?
Sakikund.
What?
Sakikund.
Oh, Sakikund. Oh, yeah, I forgot about Sakikund. Sakikund is where all the gopis would meet. At that time, when we did the slideshow, we didn't know about Sakikund. So this slideshow was done a number of years ago. Where all the gopis, both parties, would meet.
That's where Uddhava met with everybody after Krishna left.
Yeah.
Yeah, he jumped from Jatipur, Jatipur's all near the tail, and he jumped all the way up to Uddhava.
Yeah. So then there's Malya Harikund. This is an amazing pastime happened here. This is the pearl pastime. One time Krishna begged from his mother for some pearls so he could plant them in the ground and grow some pearl trees. And Shodamaya said, no, that's not how pearls come about. They're taken from oysters. And so Krishna kept insisting, so he did that. And he planted pearls in the ground and was watering them, or not watering them, I guess that's a generic term. He was putting milk products on them like milk and yogurt, and the gopis were laughing at him. Actually, previously, Krishna wanted to borrow pearls from the gopis for his cows and for the monkeys and for all the residents of Vrindavan. The gopis had refused. That's why Krishna wanted to grow pearl trees. So the gopis were laughing, and eventually pearl trees came, and there were varieties of different colored pearls all over the place. And the gopis wanted some, and Krishna said, no, you didn't give me any pearls when I asked for them, so you can't have any. And then he started to decorate all the animals, the cows, the monkeys. Everybody was wearing pearls except for the gopis. And the gopis, and the gopis had very few pearls. And then the gopis thought, we got to grow our own pearl trees. So they went to their mothers and took the pearls from their mothers and planted them in the ground and started throwing milk on them, or putting milk on them and yogurt on them. And eventually, all they got were thorn trees. And then and then the gopis kept begging Krishna. Finally, Krishna gave in and gave them pearls. And, the pearls he gave each individual gopi were in boxes with their names engraved on them. Also, at the entrance to Radhakund, there's this place called Shiva Kori, which is a place where Radharani was supposed to have saved a jackal that was being tortured by some young boys. And this jackal became an eternal associate of Radharani and the gopis. And this is the end.
Western Shiva Linga is also.
Oh, the Western Shiva Linga. And then here's a depiction of this particular pastime. And there's the jackal being saved and turned into an associate, and chasing the coward boys off who were torturing this poor jackal. And then we're not, as I said, we're not really going around Radhakund. That's a completely different slideshow. And here are the gopis, not the gopis, but the devotees. They're not necessarily gopis. Devotees are leaving the Radhakund area. And the next place we come to is Kushama Sarovara. And this is supposed to be the place where Narada Muni bathed, and he became the gopi Naradi. And so one of the favorite bathing places for the devotees. There's many decorations there, paintings there of Krishna's pastimes, the coward boys' pastimes there, Krishna and Balaram, just different pictures of Kusuma Sarovara. We took a lot of pictures. Kusuma Sarovar in the evening or the early morning, Kusuma Sarovar from the air, another one from the air, and the devotees taking some water from Kusuma Sarovara, trying to become gopis. Another interesting pastime happened at Kusuma Sarovar. Krishna was up in a tree, and the gopis were picking flowers from that same tree, and actually by Krishna's weight, he was holding down the branch of the tree, and he jumped from the tree, and Radharani was somehow or other holding on that branch to get the flowers from the tree, and Radharani flew up in the air. And Krishna said, I'll save you. And she was, as we see here, she was a little angry at Krishna. It's one of my favorite temples. It's called the Radha Banabihari Temple, which is run by some ISKCON devotees. And this temple depicts the pastime where Krishna became the hairdresser of Srimati Radharani. And Radharani, instead of looking at her own hair, was actually looking at the person dressing her hair, who was Krishna behind her. So there you see Krishna? You can see, I can't use the arrow here. You see Krishna and then Radharani, Krishna behind Radharani. And a depiction of this particular pastime. And in the back of this temple, there's another Uddhava temple that used to be taken care of by a friend of mine. He's no longer there. He's somewhere else in Radhakund at this particular point. So there we are visiting that temple. And across the street of the Parikrama path, there's the Narada Kund area, and where Narada Muni resided is his ashram, where he spoke to Kayadu, who was pregnant at that time. Kayadu, of course, is the mother of Prahlad Maharaj, and he was protecting her because the demigods wanted to kill her and the child when the child was born. because he was the son of the great demon Hiranyakashipu. So he's protecting her and preaching to her, and Prahlad Maharaj heard the instructions, spiritual instructions, while he was within the womb of his mother. So this happened in Nardakund. And Narada Muni is allowed to reside there, even though he was cursed not to reside in any place in this world by Daksha, because Nardakund is not part of this material world. There's a nice deity there of Narada Muni. And there's the Ratnakund area. Ratna means jeweled kund, and Sham Kutir, dark Kutir, which is right in the center of Govardhan. And Govardhan is just coming out of the earth at this particular point. When you get close or after the city of Govardhan, you leave the city and you start towards the head, which is the peacock, head of the peacock, Radhakund and Shamakund. Govardhan goes down in the earth because two stories. One is he was cursed to shrink to the size of shrink by the size of a mustard seed every day by Pulasya Muni. I don't have time to tell that story because he wouldn't move when Pulasya Muni wanted to bring him to Kashi. And then also the Acharyas describe that he's shrinking because he's feeling separation from Krishna. And it's described in the Vedic literatures that as Kali Yuga progresses, Govardhan will actually disappear. And so that's happening. And also it's said that Yamuna will disappear. And in one sense, I don't know, maybe it's considered it's already happened because Yamuna is diverted to fertilize all the fields in another state where we get our rice from. Just so you know where that basmati rice comes from. Jamuna water. That's been diverted because they do a big business with that. So I was always thinking about the ethics of taking that particular basmati rice and supporting the diversion of the Yamuna. So in this particular case, Shamkutir, is where Shankachuda tried to kidnap Radharani, and Krishna killed Shankachuda and took the jewel from him in the shape of a conch, which is in the shape of a conch shell. And in some of the pastimes told by the Goswamis, that jewel became later on given to the sun god, and that jewel became the Shaimataka jewel. And as footprints of Krishna and a cow right next to Shamkutir. And the Ratna Singhasana, Singhasana means the throne and jeweled throne of Radha and Krishna, and there were many pastimes that took place between Radha and Krishna, particularly the Rasa dance. And here's Radharani on her jeweled throne. Right next to there is a place called Gwalpurkur. In Gwalpurkur, the cowherd boys used to be. It's also a place where Madhu Mangal performed, previously he had performed Surya Kund for Jatila, and he got all these ladus, and the cowherd boys and Krishna stole all the ladus. And he threatened the other cowherd boys, that he would curse them, and he would complain to Kamsa. And so Krishna, in order to avoid that particular problem, gave him more ladus. And here's Krishna and the cowherd boys taking prasadam, or Krishna taking bhoga. And myself offering dandavats to Govardhan at the feet of Govardhan, and this is, oh, we're almost finished. I mean, we didn't do every single place, obviously. As we entered the city of Govardhan, there's this kund called Yugal Kund, and where Nanda Maharaj stayed here when he was on his way from Nandagan to Nandagan from Gokula. Gokula is on the other side of the Jamuna River. Panchatirtha Kund, where the 5 holy places, 5 holy rivers, Narmada, Gomati, Sarayu, Kanchi, and Vitri rivers reside. And we used to be able to go into this place, and I don't think we were permitted after some time to go in there. It's being run by people who are not so favorable to us. And this is where we reside and hold our programs at Govardhan. And every day we would have some kata outside in front of, this is our house right here. It's like a modern, well, trying to be modern, trying to be modern house. And devotees would have pastimes. We'd chant the Dhammadarashtika prayers and enjoy spiritual life during the month of Kartik. So hopefully someday we can go back there by Krishna's grace. Okay, and that's the slideshow.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. All glories to His divine grace. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premananda.
Raj Govardhan ki jai.
So there's a program at the Gurukul at 11 o'clock, right?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
Half an hour long, just very
Okay.
kirtan, circumambulation, offering.
All right.
to Govardhan.
And it's a hill that the children have made.
Oh, great.
We have 2 hills. The high school kids made one, and the younger ones made another.
Okay, so that's 1 o'clock then. So everybody's invited, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for allowing me to connect with Govardhan today on this most important day. Well,
Yeah, Jai, your day.
yeah. Thank you for being here.
Because you're here, Govardhan's here.
Well, wish it was like that. Anyway, yeah, it was originally the plan for me to leave this morning, but
Are you still going?
I'm going tomorrow. Yeah. When in November? I'm not going to be here.